Welcome to you all. I hope you had a fantastic first day yesterday. Welcome also to all the friends and colleagues online. Thank you, very good. I assume that you know how translation works. You have the Interactio app downloaded. We have 1 hour and a half this morning before the coffee break, and then you will continue with another session before lunch. It's possible to send questions online, and I hope that also in the room there will be questions for the panel that I have the pleasure to chair. My name is Nicola De Michelis. I'm director in DG Regio for many things. So the session this morning is an important one because one of the principles of the functioning of cohesion policy, but in particular of the Just Transition Fund, is that you need to involve the stakeholders, the actors, the interests that are in the territories to be sure that they are on board. You listen to their concern, you activate their energies, their commitment. It's only in an inclusive process that you have a chance to ensure that the project that will be selected, the direction of travel of this fund will actually deliver. And this is why we are so attentive to how that partnership, that discussion, conversation with the partners on the ground happens. And so what we wanted to do this morning was to bring together different group of interest: the youth, the trade unions, the universities, the development agencies, to see a bit how they, to what extent they have been involved, how their concerns have been heard in designing the Just Transition Plan, and how they will be involved in the implementation of the Transition Fund, and what mechanisms have been or not been put in place to ensure this continuous dialogue with people in the territories concerned by the Just Transition Fund. And so for this, you have the speakers on the screen. We have Lefteris Topaloglou, University of Kozani in Western Macedonia, one of the biggest beneficiaries in Europe of the fund, and certainly in Greece. Eva Maria Wouter-Kirch-Gatterer from Carinthia, Jesus Crespo from the trade unions in Spain, and Luisa Marchioni representing the youth, but working for the Startup Regions Network and responsible for the EU Teens for Green. And with this, I suggest that you join me on the podium, please. And a fantastic ring of applause. Thank you very much. Now, I hope I get the sequence right. That largely depends on the slides, but I assume that Lefteris, you start by giving the perspective of how the university has been involved in the process of preparation of one of the largest JTF program in Europe. Lefteris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nicola. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to allow me to say a big thank to the organizers, to the DG Regio, to the Secretariat of the Just Transition Platform for the invitation to participate, for the honorable invitation to participate in such an interesting session entitled Just Implementation and Monitoring Mechanism. And if you see better, you see that the title closes with an inspiring and short question saying, how do it right? What I personally get from this short question is that we all interested in launching an open and critical discussion regarding this issue and bring to the table these challenging issues, the issues of monitoring, implementation, and governance of transition. Well, having in mind the 10 minutes time limit, what will be attempted from my end is to provide provide you some insights on the governance transition challenges, the trends on governance modes, and I will close with an idea dealing with the just energy transition observatory that we are currently elaborating at the university in Western Macedonia within the context of a live project named CITRANS. Well, aiming to feed the discussion with some critical questions regarding just transition governance challenges that lie ahead. First, it would be particularly valuable to explore the elements that should possess the governance of a just and effective transition. Another compelling question is how could the participation of all the quadruple helix sections can be more activated in order for the governance to be more efficient, more effective, more inclusive. Last but not least, is there room to enhance and further strengthen the place-based approach and the dimension of justice through the lens of spatial, social, and environmental justice within the governance transition modes? Having all this in mind, and general speaking about the trends on modes of governance, scientific research and empirical evidence suggest a further transfer from central government towards decentralized policy-making structures. This angle is considered absolutely necessary based on the literature. Additionally, it seems that the well-established top-down governance model began to be questioned both by market-based and market-oriented drivers and multi-level modes of governance. If it comes in coal-intensive regions in particular, then there is no doubt that new governance practices and mechanisms are necessary to tackle multifaceted social, economic, and environmental transformation. To finish, if we examine this issue through the global angle, I would say, then it is evident that transitions imposed by the climate crisis threat should be governed through novel and pioneer, I would say, forms of government-society interactions across different levels. Sorry. Moving on now to the CITRANS project, I guess that you all have the opportunity to have a glance in the rollout in the lobby. It was a rollout related to CITRANS project. CITRANS is an EU-funded project under the LIFE program within the context of life energy and life climate. We, as the University of Western Macedonia, lead this project, and the overarching objective of this project is to promote place-based governance approach and tailor-made transformative policies in areas that are intensely experiencing the phase-out of coal. To this end, among others, we are going to assess the socioeconomic impact of energy transition in 4 areas. First, in Western Macedonia, Silesia in Poland, number 2, Stara Zagora, Bulgaria, number 3, and Sardinia in Italy. And we are going to develop accordingly for just transition governance models and scenarios based on the principle leaving no one behind. On this basis, CITRANS is going to explore new forms of participative governance schemes, collaboration between governance levels, multi-level dialogues among different layers, both vertically and horizontally, and inclusive modes of vulnerable groups affected by the transition. Allow me to clarify at this moment that CITRANS commenced last November and is in full progress for the time being. Another emblematic activity of the CITRANS project is the Just Energy Transition Observatory. This endeavor, this idea, is articulated upon 4 pillars. First, monitoring. Speaking about monitoring, what we have in mind is a series of indicators, such as just transition plans achievement, some specific CITRANS indicators, also sustainable development goals indicators, and of course, geospatial data. Interaction concerns the second pillar of this idea, and what we intend to do here is to apply online surveys via mobile applications targeting quadruple helix actors. We intend also to run some evidence-based awareness activities at a local level, and also to enhance networking of these 4 areas with other areas with relevant characteristics and with other platforms at a European level, such as this one, Just Transition Platform, such as Energy Poverty Observatory and Platform. Reporting and policy recommendation represents the 3rd pillar. What we are going to apply here is to develop policy briefs containing policy recommendations, and also some interactive reporting using story maps and story techniques, aiming to provide to the policymakers at the local and regional level with evidence-based information. Knowledge repository is the 4th pillar of the observatory. The idea that we have behind this endeavor is to systematically be enriched by good practices, reports, studies, strategic documents, databases, etc. This is all in all from my side, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We may come back on the observatory, but you concentrated your presentation very much on this idea. But could I just ask you to respond in a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
How, in practice, the university has been involved in the design and preparation of the Just Transition Plan of Western Macedonia?
Yeah. Thank you for this question. I ought to say that University of Western Macedonia, for the very first moment, I would say, when the decision of the government to proceed with the decarbonization and the phase out of coal became known, proved to play the role of a strategic partner in this endeavor of just transition. It's worth saying that during the Prime Minister himself, during a visit in Western Macedonia, stated that if the university did not exist, we would have to invent it from scratch if we wanted to follow a successful pathway towards just transition. On this basis, I would say, Nicola, that the overarching goal of university is to become a hub of a green hub of innovation and entrepreneurship based on a resilient development paradigm, taking into consideration the environmental, social, and economic aspects. Practically speaking, the university played a very, very active role during the preparation of the Just Transition Plan, providing scientific knowledge, and by participating in numerous of committees and fora. Let me tell you an example here that the university chairs a very important committee responsible for pre-screening and evaluation of major investment, and this committee, the chairman of this committee is the rector himself. Also, the university, if you allow me to tell you something else, play a very active role in skilling, upskilling, and reskilling activities towards a new entrepreneurship green paradigm. And if you want me to say more detail later on, I can add something else. Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure there will be questions in the question and Q&A session. Eva Maria, I think the floor is yours now. Yeah, you can use a lectern here, please.
A very warm welcome and good morning from my side. My name is Eva Wuttekirch-Gatra. I'm representing the Austrian Just Transition Fund and especially the southern part of this Just Transition region, which is in Carinthia, along the border to Slovenia, just to give you a glance where I come from. At the beginning, we had quite some difficulties to address the just transition topic in our region. There wasn't any awareness also of the Green Deal, or maybe just a little bit of awareness, especially in the SME sector. And we had to deal with quite a few challenges in our region. We are a development agency, the Carinthian Economic Promotion Fund, which is here to support the economy and also the regional economic system. What were the challenges? We had to deal with a very heterogeneous economic structure. We don't have coal anymore. However, we do have carbon-intensive companies in our region, which come from very different sectors. We did a survey and interviews with SMEs in our region, about 50 interviews, which were done by the University of Klagenfurt in cooperation with Joanneum Research, which is an institution in Styria, to find out how the awareness level of just transition and the Green Deal is, especially in the SME sector. What we also have as a challenge in our region in Carinthia, we do not have R&D institutions in the regions, just one which is dealing with wood and also with the sustainable materials in this sector. But apart from this, we don't have a university or other institutions for R&D who could support the SMEs in their transition. The region in Carinthia is also quite poor in the structural sense. We do have a low BIP, so we do have to support also the region as a whole, which is also the aim of the Just Transition Fund, to also focus on the socio-economic aspects. There's a population decline, and a lot of people are commuting to other regions, to Styria and other centers of activity. So what did we do at the beginning? We were focusing on the regional economic system on different levels, and we started to accelerate the activity within the region. We did this project with React EU Fund with University of Klagenfurt and also Joanneum Research. And we also started to cooperate in a very early stage with the European Social Fund, who is also in charge of parts of the Just Transition Fund. We now have also a scientific partner, which is Joanneum Research, who is supporting the analysis in the socio-economic sense, also in the sense which jobs are really necessary for the future, for the transition itself in the region. And we are also monitoring the implementation now in our region with those partners. We focus on two fields of activity in the Just Transition Fund Austria. The one is that we support product investments towards transformative and green business areas in SMEs. And the other big part is that we focus on R&D activities and also on incubation activities with a focus on green and transformative. However, we do that on a very low level, also with schools and other institutions in the region. Apart from this, we have noticed that now, after some months or approximately 1 year, there is an activity within the region which was initiated by different stakeholders and institutions. And right now there are several workshops going on which are organized on different levels in the region and also on the local level. We are, as a development agency, also invited to these regional workshops, and we see that the dynamic is raising, and also the awareness has raised a lot in the last couple of months. So we are now starting to really implement the Just Transition Fund, and we do have quite some response on our activities. Yes, just that was to make you see that we do have quite some development concerning the Just Transition topic. However, it is quite hard to really address the topic itself in the SME sector, but we have also noticed quite some, yes, really positive energy, so that we can now really hope that we will be in time with the implementation and also be successful in this field in our region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Could I just, a very quick follow-up? One of the activities that you mentioned is awareness raising. And I was wondering whether after a year of work with SMEs and in the region, you have the impression that awareness about the transition on the one hand and the Just Transition Fund in particular has actually increased.
Has increased, yes. Yes, we really mentioned that the awareness has indeed increased, because we do have the workshops, and at the beginning we didn't have any participants, or quite a few participants, and now we do have SMEs, CEOs from different companies in the region which are quite interested and active and address us in a very, very intensive and direct way, right?
Thanks. Jesus? The point of view of the trade unions in this process, please.
Buenos días a todos y a todas. Para nosotros, agradecer la invitación de la Comisión para poder participar en estos eventos que nos parecen súper importantes, porque nosotros tuvimos la necesidad, o sea, más que un reto, como se comentaba, nosotros tenemos la necesidad de acompañar a los trabajadores en este proceso. Y nosotros hemos vivido todo este cambio en el 2018, con lo cual ya venimos tiempo trabajando en ello, porque cuando nosotros se habla de qué vamos a hacer, nosotros los impactos ya los sufrimos. Nosotros lo que pretendemos que, para poder anticiparnos a las cosas que nos vienen, primero tenemos que hacer 3 cosas. Conocer lo que está pasando, y luego sabemos que hay diferentes velocidades a la hora de hacerlo, porque las decisiones que se toman en los diferentes gobiernos, son de periodos de 4 años en el caso de España, pero las empresas y los que invierten en nuevas actividades lo hacen en plazos de 10 a 50 años, con lo cual los tiempos en los que se mueven de una cosa donde hacen quién decide o por qué se deciden las cosas a una vez que se actúa en la empresa, pues nos lleva a hacer cosas bastante complicadas. Con lo cual, primero tenemos que conocer, tenemos que saber la necesidad del cambio, tenemos que mentalizarnos de que realmente viene el cambio, porque oímos los informes del IPCC, al final decimos que es verdad que tenemos que hacer una descarbonización de la economía y luego las decisiones se toman en otros ámbitos donde, gracias a la voluntad de todos, ponemos los mecanismos encima de la mesa para poder llevar estas soluciones en los sitios donde se hacen y para dar soluciones a los trabajadores. Segundo, tenemos que analizar qué es lo que está pasando. Pues lo que decíamos, una vez que conocemos que hay un cambio, sabemos qué es lo que quiere hacer el Gobierno, sabemos en dónde están alineados o no las empresas en este cambio y a partir de ahí nosotros nos ponemos a trabajar ¿cuál es la tercera pata? A partir de ahí proponer a todos los actores involucrados en este cambio para poder hacer las cosas y sentarlos en una mesa todos, que ya os digo que no es fácil, para poder aunar las voluntades, no obligar, porque con la obligación no se hacen. Hay que poner mecanismos para que la voluntad de todos vayan dirigidos a las soluciones de las personas y los territorios afectados. Y eso solo se hace a través de la gobernanza. Sí, ahí. Y yo lo que quería mostraros es, a través del fruto de los trabajos desarrollados en España, nosotros en el 2018 firmamos el cierre del sector del carbón de la minería energética y luego el cierre donde se consumían las centrales térmicas de carbón asociadas a ese carbón. Y entonces teníamos 4 parámetros. Un plan social en el que tienen que reconocer y ver con nombres y apellidos las personas afectadas, porque esto no es un proceso que se decide hoy. En el 2010, el Gobierno de España con las propietarias mandaron a la Unión Europea el compromiso de cerrar esta actividad en 2018. Y los sindicatos, al menos comisiones obreras, tenemos la responsabilidad de sentarnos en una mesa para buscar esas soluciones. Dar soluciones y ver cuáles son las empresas de las contratas afectadas y luego ser capaces de poner, como decía, nombres y apellidos en un sitio para que todos sepamos cuáles son los que están afectados y ver qué hacemos con ellos. Y a través, ¿cómo hacemos esto? Pues primero tenemos que saber y conformar qué planes industriales podemos hacer, tanto con inversiones propias, con la responsabilidad social corporativa que todas las empresas y las grandes empresas tienen en los territorios donde se implantaron, y luego, si por ellos mismos no tienen inversiones suficientes, captación de inversores para poder dar soluciones, y si aún así todavía no hay soluciones encima de la mesa, para eso se hizo a través de la estrategia de transición justa en el Gobierno de España, que yo conozca es el único gobierno que tiene una estrategia de transición justa, donde se implantan los convenios de transición justa, ya donde todos los actores, que es una muestra del panel de ahora, en el que decimos todos los actores para buscar esas soluciones. ¿Y cómo hacemos esto? Porque recordar que una vez que una empresa toma la decisión de cerrar, los trabajadores están en la calle, ya están en el desempleo y tenemos que ir acompañando porque las cosas no se hacen solas. Hay un tiempo desde que cierro una actividad hasta que implemento otra actividad económica distinta. ¿Y cómo hacemos eso? Bueno, pues diseñamos que como hay que desmantelar y preparar el terreno para dejarlo limpio y poner una nueva actividad, pues ese es el primer trabajo que tienen que hacer esos trabajadores afectados. ¿Cómo? Dándoles una formación adecuada en ese proceso. Y luego una vez que hemos hecho el monitoreo del plan industrial y los diferentes compromisos o escenarios que se puedan poner encima de la mesa, ver cómo se hace eso. Y a través de eso, con esa formación, a través de nuevos cursos de capacitación, el recualificación de las personas y ver cómo lo hacemos. Y eso solo se puede hacer con un diálogo social muy fluido, con mucha voluntad, como decía antes, y la gobernanza con una comisión de seguimiento, con compromisos en las que nos reunamos de vez en cuando, mínimo 2 veces al año, para ver cómo va ese proceso, tanto con las empresas como los gobiernos, como las comunidades autónomas o los territorios afectados. Lo he apagado. Pues no. Si lo podéis poner, por favor. Porque ok. Es una. Aquí lo que. No, el anterior. Lo que quería. Esto es una muestra de cómo, con el compromiso de todos, al final ponemos. Estos son el trabajo desarrollado en las diferentes comunidades autónomas a través del Convenio de Transición Justa, que recordemos que para España se aprobaron 868 millones y ya están repartidas estas cantidades dentro de los diferentes territorios afectados, donde tenemos ya 765 actores con 1.887 propuestas de nuevas actividades, que todos conocemos que unas se harán, otras no se harán, pero sí tenemos el compromiso de captar aquellas que tengan la mayor volumen de creación de empleo, que sean proyectos tractores, para que a partir de ahí podamos construir en ese territorio donde se perdía el empleo una nueva actividad que nos permita volver a recuperar la ciudadanía que se perdía, volver a recuperar que los trabajadores que estaban allí vuelvan otra vez al sitio de donde eran y volver a recuperar las economías en estos sitios donde son partes de las zonas de España que están muy vaciadas. Y aparte de todo esto, como como decía, eso es. Esta es una muestra del compromiso de la voluntad de todos los actores. Aquí estos son los 2 acuerdos que se firmaron, uno en el 2018 con el cierre de la minería y otro en el 2020-2021 con el cierre de las centrales térmicas. Aquí está la patronal, las empresas, los sindicatos y el Gobierno. Con lo cual, a partir de aquí es lo que decía, y como resumen, lo que tenemos la voluntad de todos y la gobernanza a través de un diálogo social fluido, hacemos que las cosas se hagan realidad. Diseñamos los mejores mecanismos para ponerlos en práctica y es verdad que lo que hemos vivido y después de estos 5 años, lo que sí soy capaz de decir y afirmar, que los trabajadores son los primeros afectados y que después de 5 años ahora empezamos a ver las pequeñas flores en las soluciones que se están haciendo, pero todavía no se han materializado. Con lo cual, ya sabemos que modificar un escenario de dónde tenemos que ir, como mínimo necesitamos 6 años. Esta es la anticipación que deberíamos tener y estos mecanismos de corrección son los que tenemos que diseñar. Entonces, la voluntad de todos los que estamos aquí, con nuestra participación, para que realmente se hagan las cosas, tenemos un proyecto muy importante, unos retos importantísimos y que nada más. Muchísimas gracias a todos y muchas gracias.
Jesus, thank you very much. One of the issue that we have detected in the design and preparation of the Just Transition Plan was that the question of skills and training was not always taken into account sufficiently or appropriately. So I was wondering whether in the case of Spain, your assessment is that in these discussions with the national and regional authorities, this dimension, the dimension of skills, of how to retrain the workforce that was as you said, lost their job because of the transition, was sufficiently taken into account in the dialogue with the trade unions.
Sí, efectivamente una parte importante, como comentaba, era la formación y la recualificación de las personas. Entonces nosotros lo que hicimos es, como estamos hablando de una transición principalmente en la transición del sector energético, cogimos aquellas empresas donde se iban a hacer las nuevas actividades a través de renovables, economía circular, o sea, sabemos qué cosas nuevas se tenían que poner y lo que hicimos es sentar en la misma mesa al Gobierno, comunidades autónomas, ministerios implicados y las empresas para que entre todos construir qué se iba a necesitar y qué mano de obra se necesitaría y qué cualificación, y a través de ese proceso estamos haciendo formación de formadores, ya se han impartido más de 1000 cursos, diferentes cursos a más de 1000 personas, y lo que tenemos encima de la mesa es un escenario donde si esta formación se va activando, ya está activada, tenemos de estas personas que estaban afectadas en las diferentes bolsas de empleo, donde son los primeros que tienen que hacer, y con las personas local donde se van a activar estos negocios, y luego con ir mejorando a través del diálogo social cómo se va implantando, pero sí es una cosa que es para nosotros muy importante, porque podemos tener una actividad, pero es verdad que a veces podemos tener falta de trabajadores, con lo cual sí está involucrado en todos estos.
Muchas gracias. Thanks. Luisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting us and to give us the opportunity to introduce you about this project, EU Teens for Green, a new generation of young ambassadors for a just inclusive transition. So this is one of the DG Regio flagship projects of the European Year of Youth. And before to go in the detail of the objective and the goals of the project, I want to let you know that the project is, the consortium is formed of a partnership led by CERN, Startup Europe Region Network, and with the association Bankwatch and YE, Youth Environment Europe, and the support of a coalition of Generation Climate Europe. So this initiative offers the opportunity to young people to participate in the decision-making in EU cohesion policy by taking ownership and becoming actors through the implementation of their project. And in this will help build a green recovery in their home regions. So in particular, they will become young ambassadors, so through the implementation of their idea, and will better equip their community to face all the challenges of the just transition. How? So the question is, the EU Teens for Green project allocates grants with a maximum amount of 10,000 euros to young people, especially to youth-led action run by young people aged 15, 24 years old inclusive. And they can register and submit their proposal as an individual, as a group of young people, or as a youth association. And the Teens for Green project aim to foster the potential of young people and to empower their engagement and their mobilization in the society. Lastly, I can say that considering that this project is an experimental call, will provide a policy recommendation to European Commission to how on youth participation in decision-making process linked to the Just Transition funds. But going with more detail and give you an overview of the project, it was launched in June 2022. We already opened the call in the end of September 2022, and we already received 197 proposals by young people. And after verification, internal verification of all the criteria, 164 were considered eligible. So this submission we received submission from 22 out of 27 EU member state territories, which is a really high representation of European Union countries. Actually, we received a high percentage of application from Greece, Spain, Romania, Bulgaria, and Czech Republic. And a large portion of applications were submitted as a group of young people, so the 34%, or as youth association, the 30%. The other minority are as individual, or the young people were supported in their submission by, for example, institution, as for example, a school. So after this, receiving this proposal, they were reviewed by an evaluation committee composed by external experts. And the final list was validated by DG Regio and the consortium. And last month, we published and released a final list of 75 youth-led action, selected projects. And we are now in the phase of collecting all the documents, requests, and verify and validate all the documents to then proceed with the signature of the participation agreement and with the first down payment for the grant. But even if we are still finalizing this phase of collecting the documents, all the projects started on 1st of April 2023 of this year, and will last. We'll have a maximum duration of 12 months. So the implementation of the project will last and end at the latest stage at the end of March 2024. And in the upcoming weeks, the young people will be invited to participate on trainings for financial reporting or communication guidelines to help them to manage effectively the project finances and to communicate their activities, their results, and the progress. Even if, of course, the consortium will help and support in all during the phase of the implementation, the EU Teams for Green project foreseeing the participation of local facilitators who will ensure the follow-up at the local level and help, of course, with the national language, and will conduct complementary activities with monitoring and supporting activities provided by the consortium. I think I can end saying that at this stage, we are glad to announce that the consortium is glad to announce that next week will be the kickoff meeting on the 6th of May. So, of course, it will be the first event where all the team members will be invited, also the local facilitator, to meet each other and to present their project. And this is one of the 3 cross-fertilization meetings that EU Teams for Green foreseen during the implementation of the project. And this will ensure a platform and a dialogue between among the participants and also among the different kind of action and different countries that are participating in this project. Thank you.
Luisa, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You concentrated very much on the process, but I was wondering whether you already have evidence of how the involvement of youth is bringing new perspective, new angles to the just transition discussion.
Yeah, of course we are at the beginning of our project, but first of all, I would like to announce how it's important in this talking about the just transition and the future of our planet to involve the young people. So actually, this project is in line with this strategy, and EU Teams for Green is an experimental call that apply also 2 of the best practices highlighted in the toolkit for youth participation for just transition. Thanks to the small-scale financing scheme. So this project is for young people. So they will be the main center of the project, and they will be the ambassador. And in terms of inclusiveness for the young people, they were involved in all the phases from the beginning, so in the creation and preparation of the call for the projects, because thanks to the participation of a think tank composed by 57 experts on the youth field and the environmental organization that help us in creating the call. And then they will be, and they provided us the proposals. So they are the one that write down their ideas, and they will implement their actions. And in the last phase, of course, they will contribute also in the monitoring and providing input for the policy recommendation.
Thank you very much. You've been a surprisingly disciplined panel. And so we have a nice 40-45 minutes for question and answer, both in the room and online. So I'm looking around. I have plenty of questions to ask, but if there's anybody that wants to, please.
Thank you. Good morning from everybody. I'm Vasilis Dertilis from the Managing Authority in Greece. And I would like to discuss a little bit with the panel and the audience the issue of consultation. During the designing phase of the project, of the program, we've been through substantial consultation with all the stakeholders of the program, which are local authorities, universities, social partners, enterprises, self-employed. Almost everybody was involved in this process. But then we had the luxury of time, because as you know, consultation needs time, substantial time in order to be efficient. And through, when we were designing the project at this phase, we had this opportunity. Now, during the implementation, we plan to do exactly the same. But then what we've done, we've established territorial committees with the involvement of all stakeholders, and we gave them the opportunity to have technical assistance and scientific support from the universities and centers, research centers as well. But you know, at this stage, we don't have the luxury of time because we have to accelerate the implementation and put in track some projects immediately in order to have the necessary spending. So I would like to know, how do you tackle these issues and how do we combine these 2 needs? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought there was, please.
Thank you. My name is Bor Balatot, and I'm working with a university. And my question goes to Eva. That you mentioned that you had especially troubles with targeting SMEs and to facilitate that they come up with the project ideas. So, and that you succeed finally. So, can you mention a few examples? What kind of projects these SMEs usually come up with? So, practical examples. Thank you.
There, and then there. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Aneta Skubida, Green Dealers Foundation. I come from Poland, and actually I wanted to little bit refer to what Mr. Vasilis was saying. So my question would be, how actually do we focus on the transformative process and a long-term one, and not over-focus on projects, on the necessity of fast spending, because this can be very contradictory to what we are trying to actually achieve. So we are a little bit losing this long-term perspective if we are so much pressed with time, and if we are not having the long-term perspective. And yesterday, Mrs. Reinhilda from KU University of Leuven was mentioning that we need a mission approach, we need to be learning, and we don't need actually projects or pipelines of projects, but we need portfolio. So this means that these are the projects which are connected, which are learning from each other, and which are actually aiming at the joint goal. So here actually I would also like to ask, how do we focus not on projects themselves, but how do we build these new mindsets, new social muscles, and new connections in the ecosystems that would be long-lasting, that they wouldn't be only depending on grants, but at certain points that these grants will be only the investment, so that we wouldn't keep those territories dependent constantly on grants. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I suggest, Eva Maria, maybe you reply first, because it was very, very specific question about a few examples that you may. Eva?
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay, I think there were several questions maybe addressing me, but the one from you is indeed for me. We are optimistic. We also have the challenge of the timeline. That's what I would like to mention again. Concerning the project examples, we have the transition region Austria, and we have a set of project selection criteria. And we were also thinking that we would start a call on productive investment projects within the whole region. We now have the situation that we have different institutions in each region, which is called Bundesländer in Austria, which is dealing with the Just Transition Fund. And so we don't have a real call right now, but we are really in a very intensive exchange between the institutions. We also have a working group installed so that we have a common look at the projects, and also to do the project selection in a right way and in a very harmonic way in this region. Project examples are right now in the recycling section, the recycling of materials like plastic. And we do also have projects from companies who go in new activities in direction to the Wasserstoff, I don't know the English word right now, production, hydrogen production. This is also a topic which is typical for the whole Austrian region, and we do have also a research center now in Upper Austria, which is also financed by means of this Just Transition Fund, which was started some weeks ago, I mean the kickoff. And we now feel that we probably make a call within the whole region for R&D projects, probably in this topic. This is maybe some of the examples we are thinking of, but the timeline is really, really challenging for us too.
Thank you. Any views on this tension between the need to continue to maintain alive the consultation and the partnership and the need to spend the money within relatively short deadlines? How do you solve that tension?
Attempting to find out trade-off between consultation and luxury of time, as mentioned very successfully by Vasilis Dertilis, I think it's not an easy task to find out a well operational balance between both sides, because speaking about transition, we're speaking about a very huge, multifaceted, complicated and multi-layered progress, strongly affecting not only economy, but also the environment and society within all the particular spheres. Agree 100% that there is no luxury of time. There's the ultimate goal is not consultation for consultation, but what we need is to come up with concrete decision at the end of the day. First. Second, I can confirm that there have been decades of consultation events in the Greek case, having the opportunity to participate in many of them, and I can confirm that many different modes of consultation at different levels have taken place, no doubt. At the same time, I think that we all agree that at the very local level, we didn't achieve to obtain the ownership of this process. And this is very, very complicated. It's not an easy task to mobilize endogenous dynamics, endogenous actors and players. There has been a key word from my colleague from Poland to change a new mindset. This is the major challenge that lies ahead for all of us, to activate all the particular actors in the society. And this is not an easy task. In Western Macedonia in particular, the decision of decarbonization was all of a sudden, and it was difficult to absorb the idea of a radical change of the development paradigm. But at the same time, I would say that what plays a critical role is a visionary leadership, not only at a national level, but also at a regional and the local level as well. And it's a challenge that lies ahead in all coal-intensive regions to respond positively to this challenge, embedding a visionary strategy towards a just transition, taking into consideration all the particular parts of the society.
Jesus, this is maybe also a very critical question for the trade unions, the tension between the short term and the medium term, this medium term structural imperative of a transition, and the short term needs to find a job for those people that lost him.
Muy bien. A ver, yo lo que decía, han salido en el escenario diferentes cosas. Estábamos hablando del tiempo para implementar las cosas, la financiación y cuándo hacemos las cosas. Por una parte decimos, tenemos que tener una reflexión para no equivocarnos en las nuevas cosas que ponemos, y en lo que sí concluimos es que lo tenemos que hacer de forma justa y con la voluntad de todos. Ya tenemos algo, pero es que la realidad es que, como bien decías, el peligro o el compromiso que tenemos los sindicatos es que a nosotros la afectación es ya. Entonces, ante esa tesitura que tenemos de que se implementa ya, nosotros tenemos que tener dos ritmos en las soluciones. Las inmediatas, las de corto, medio y largo plazo. Con lo cual tenemos que ser capaces, y sí comparto con lo que decía mi compañero de Macedonia, el que realmente se necesita un tratamiento bidireccional desde lo local hacia lo europeo o lo mundial y no hacia el otro ritmo, porque las decisiones sabemos lo que pasa, pero cómo pasa y a quién le pasa, yo no comparto que no sabemos hacia dónde va. O sea, todos sabíamos desde el principio que las transiciones iban a hacer, la primera iba a ser la energética. Pero es que de la transición energética al final hemos visto que están involucrados todos los sectores industriales y toda la economía. Con lo cual, las decisiones, cuando tocas una pieza, se cae toda la pieza, toda la estructura. Con lo cual, tenemos que ser muy hábiles a la hora de hacerlo. Los gobiernos, las empresas, las universidades, todos tienen estudios de cómo se van a hacer las cosas. El tema es cuándo se iban a hacer y de qué manera se va a hacer y quién iba a pagar esto. Hemos tenido la suerte, por la experiencia vivida a través del COVID, el conflicto bélico, que cuando se aunan y se alinean todos los astros tenemos un problema enorme, con lo cual tenemos que dar soluciones inmediatas. Hemos tenido la facultad de unirnos todos para sacar una financiación. Y ahora decía desde Polonia, ¿pero cómo lo hacemos? ¿Qué vamos a dar dinero porque sí? Yo pienso que todas las empresas y todos y los que están dispuestos a hacer esa modificación, que al final el que hace la energía de combustibles fósiles tienen estudios de cómo se va a hacer de forma renovable. Y luego hay que involucrar a toda la cadena de valor y que realmente al final nos saque del problema a toda la ciudadanía y a todo el mundo. Con lo cual, lo que sí tenemos que ser, muchos de los problemas que tenemos es a la hora de los trámites administrativos en todos los procesos. Porque es muy difícil y muy complicado donde poner una estación de servicio para cargar un vehículo eléctrico que se puede hacer en 2 meses, desde el proyecto hasta la puesta en marcha, tardamos 2 años en España. Eso no es una forma efectiva de hacer las cosas, porque ya hemos decidido que en el 2035 no vamos a tener emisiones directas. Y ya el problema que tenemos 10 años antes, 15 años antes, es ¿qué coche me voy a comprar mañana? Es que tenemos unos debates donde queremos construir todo a la vez y yo creo que tenemos que coger parcelas independientes de cómo se hacen las cosas. Ya lo digo, o sea, tenemos que trabajar todos unidos con decisiones cuáles son las mejores, pero pensando en lo que decimos, la palabra de transición justa es muy bonita, la compramos todos al día siguiente y lo difícil es llevarlo a cabo.
Any reflection on this matter in the audience?
Sonia Sirpa from Southeast Asia Energy Transition Partnership. Very thankful for being here to learn from your progress and processes for the benefit of the countries in Southeast Asia. I have a question for Luisa about the youth program. In particular, what type of proposals can you maybe mention some examples, and also the range of the grants, as well as sort of recognizing the different civic space that exists here in Europe versus what's going on in Southeast Asia? To what extent were governments involved in the selection process to enable the civil society, the youth there to operate and take these roles that you are supporting through the grants on the ground? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. So in terms of what kind of project, as I said at the beginning, we are now collecting all the documents and the contract are being not signed yet. So for this reason, it's not possible to release more information, more detail for each the project, and also are so different each other that it's really difficult to give you just a few examples. But what can I share with you is the fact that the project that we received can be categorized in some activities. So, for example, the awareness-raising activities, capacity building activities, campaigning and advocacy, innovation solution or pilots, and exchange of good practices. And then when they propose this kind of activity, they focus in one or more topics. So, for example, the sustainable agriculture, then the climate literacy, cleanups, urban gardening, green mobility, and also the support for building skills for green jobs. And however, I also take the opportunity to let you know that in the upcoming weeks, more details about the project will be available in our website. So I invite all the audience to look and browse and search all the 75 selected projects. In terms of participation with the government, I can say that we actually appreciate and notice that the proposal that we received already had an holistic approach, holistic understanding of their community. So in their proposal, we see that they already included several stakeholders, several other youth associations, schools, or events that were already planned in the territory to maximize their impact. Of course, in the selection process, the government have been not involved as they were standard criteria defined from the beginning of the call, and as I said, an evaluation committee was created to then see and validate all these criteria and give the final scores.
Thanks.
Yes, my name is Yanis Bakouros. I come from Western Macedonia. Just, I wanted to say that when I first moved to Western Macedonia as a professor at the university, it was back in 2004. So almost 20 years. The first meeting I attended, as my very first meeting I attended in Western Macedonia, was about transition, 20 years ago. So I have to say that we've been through, Vasilis, more than 20 years of consultation in our region. Maybe not so concentrating in specific actions, specific plans or whatever. But we've been to that. We've been discussing that. I wanted to say, and I want the comments by you, Nicola, and our distinguished panel, that we need, in order to continue to have all the people with us into this transition, we have to give examples, very best practices in our region. If they see at least one or two good practices in our region, what transition brings to our region, I think that will help the transition a lot. I don't believe that we need any more consultation. We've been through that. Just we need actions now.
Thank you very much. Really? Okay. Sander.
Thank you so much, Nicola. So I'm Sander Happaerts. I work at DG Regio on the JTF. I wanted to thank Luisa for her presentation because indeed the EU Teens for Green is an experimental project that followed from a lot of work that we have done on involving youth in the JTF. And perhaps at some future JTP conferences we can bring some of the applicants here. We would really love that. I wanted to bounce the question now to Lefteris, because we spoke also yesterday already about the role of universities, and you presented a very good idea of an observatory, but universities also have a role in teaching, and I wanted to ask, what are you doing with your students on these topics? And because they are the people in Western Macedonia and also the future of the region, so what are you doing concretely with them on this topic? And perhaps also to Eva and Jesus, in what you have talked about, how do you see the role of youth, and are you working actively with them?
Thanks, Sander, for this very, very interesting question. This is very critical. How we could involve our students in the endeavor of just transition. This is critical because universities in Greece in general needs to be more extroverted, and Western Macedonia in particular. What we have been investing over the last years is a lot of efforts in networking of our students with relative areas. Let me tell you an example here. 2 months ago, a delegation of the University of Cottbus visited our university, and we had a very, very interesting exchanging of know-how regarding transition issue, environmental, social, and economic issues. So this is very critical, and thanks for pointing out this dimension. We need to put our students in the central place of this endeavor. And we need also to invest a lot to attract high-skilled scientific and research personnel in order to reverse brain drain trends and enhance brain gain. Because Western Macedonia is an area with a very, very high employment rate and very, very strong brain drain trends. So it's crucial to pass a positive message that Western Macedonia is an area which look at the future through a positive point of view, and we strongly believe that we can make it. This is the message that we can pass. We want to pass also to our students. By this way, our vision is to act as connecting channels, let's say, between academia, research, and the business world, and acting as facilitators, providing some sort of collaborative platforms, and such kind of collaborative platforms can make all this effort much more efficient. And if there's time, I can provide you further information, practical, how we vision this idea. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the question. We do involve the youth in several ways. First, I was mentioning the project Low Transformation, Low Carbon to Transformation. This was a project in the old period from REACT EU funds, and there was the university who did the interviews and the analysis of the SME structure in the region, and this was done by students, by advanced students, and they also wrote this study. So this was one example that I think that we also involved the local students and the university itself, and it was quite interesting because I think the approach of the youth is different, and it really makes sense that they should be and have to be involved in this thematic field. The second one, what I would like to mention is that we are awaiting a project which is in preparation from the Fachhochschule Kärnten. This is, I don't know how really translate. This is also a third, an educational, but academic level, educational institution in Carinthia. And together with the incubator BUILD is an incubator in Klagenfurt, which is not part of the region, but they are now installing the incubator in the transition region within this project, and to work together with this other institution. So they are planning the project at a lower level of incubation and startups, not necessarily academic level, but they go into the schools in the region, and we'll see how maybe they have ideas in this field. And I was also thinking that maybe this could be a possible connection to your project, and we can also launch this topic. And what I would also like to mention is that we have a structural change facing with the transition, and this has challenges but also opportunities in my eyes. So it is like that we have new technologies which have to be developed, which have to be implemented. And in Austria we do have the Green Tech Valley cluster, which is also very active in Styria and Carinthia. And we think that this could be an attractive thing for young people to move to the region, to come back to the region when they have studied maybe somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesús.
Bien, a mí sí me gustaría decir que nosotros desde los sindicatos efectivamente estamos presentes en todas las universidades, en las escuelas, porque al final estamos sindicalizados en todos los sitios, con lo cual sí que llegamos. Pero es verdad que yo echo en falta que la comunicación de todo lo que tenemos encima de la mesa y todo lo que tenemos, yo creo que es a nivel global y a nivel de Estado. O sea, yo creo que lo que tenemos es que un poco ser mucho más claros o intentar involucrar de mayor medida a los jóvenes, porque tenemos otras necesidades encima de la mesa que son distintas a las anteriores. Ahora mismo, pues, por ejemplo, necesitamos soldadores, necesitamos, o sea, una serie de técnicos cualificados que hace tiempo se dotaba de menos personas. Y la gente que está ahora mismo en los institutos, que pueden hacer formación profesional, pues también, y la culpa es nosotros como padres, que también queríamos que nuestros hijos todos fueran a la universidad, tuvieran todos los máster posibles, pero nos olvidamos de la realidad. Y la realidad es que necesitamos soldadores, necesitamos mecánicos, carpinteros, pintores, y no tenemos. Y tenemos que convencer. Y ahora, ¿cómo le decimos a nuestros hijos, oye, que es que esto también es bueno y también es necesario? Yo fui una persona que entré con una formación y luego he ido poco a poco formándome. O sea, yo creo que tenemos que incorporar las escuelas de aprendices que teníamos en todas las grandes empresas, los jóvenes que entraban en los talleres para hacer esos trabajos. Es como decía el compañero, hace 20 años tenían reuniones en la universidad de cómo estaban las cosas y lo que se iba a hacer. Y es que cuando queremos solucionar el problema es que ya estamos dentro del problema. Y ahora lo que tenemos que hacer es involucrar. Nosotros estamos ahí, la participación de los jóvenes y de las mujeres al mundo laboral, y cuanto antes mejor para cubrir todas las necesidades. Y yo entiendo que tenemos que hacer de campañas de comunicación mucho más amplias, más novedosas, para intentar cambiarle el ritmo a nuestros hijos, nuestros jóvenes y nuestras mujeres que las necesidades que tenemos en el mundo son totalmente distintas.
Thank you very much. We are 10 minutes away from the coffee. So what I suggest is that we take one question from the online audience, and I read it and I reformulate it. The question reads, if there are the necessary funds and investments and political will and decision, why are some countries and regions continue showing resistance towards a just transition? And what I would like to ask you, to all of you, in the last 10 minutes, is to identify the two ingredients that are necessary to fight that resistance, to ensure that people embrace the transition and see it as an opportunity. Could you, in 2 minutes, identify what those ingredients could be? You start.
Thank you, Nicola. Two ingredients. I will tell them in title. First ingredient, in establishing a local mechanism able to convince all the local actors and in order to overcome the resistance towards a just transition. That's why we are proposing the idea of a just transition observatory, providing evidence-based information in order to overcome resistance and in order for the consultation to be essential and evidence-based, not only during the preparation of a transition plan, but also afterwards, in case of deviations. Why the deviation exists? What is the interpretation of this deviation? What has to be done in order to be cured this deviation? What is the policy recommendation, the recipe to resolve the problem? So, by this way, we should overcome such kind of resistance. Second ingredient, establishing collaborating channels which will build bridges among academia, research, and business world within a vision of innovation integrated ecosystem, attracting cutting-edge technology companies in order to change a development paradigm in coal-intensive regions. Thank you.
Evidence-based, local presence, collaboration. Luisa.
Thank you. I think I agree with you in terms of just reflecting to the criteria that we had in our open call. Two of them were relevance and sustainability. So relevance because the young people had to study the needs and the challenges of their territories. In doing that, most of them included the participation and collaboration with the territories, stakeholders, and that, of course, ensure a long-lasting relationship, and also the sustainability. So the project were reviewed and analyzed in base of the sustainability of their project. Even if they will receive a grant, we try to enforce and we will assure during the implementation of the phase to not be in terms of like, of course, dependent of the grant because it will ensure this project, but to guarantee that the project will not end with the grant. So this will help in maximize the impact in the region and maybe help in the change of the mindset of the region and the young people, and also it's not, the project team will be young people, but then all the people of the region will be, of course, participant and beneficiary of their projects.
Relevance and sustainability. Eva Maria.
I would say that the support of the involvement of different levels is very important to succeed in the transition and also to allow this involvement because, I mean, sometimes we do have this top-down approach and I think bottom-up is quite decisive in this topic. And I would say that best practices within the region, which are feasible for the population and also the people in the region, are quite supportive to be successful. Thank you.
So multi-level governance and enabling the actors to participate in that governance. Jesús.
A ver, siempre que nos mueven de nuestro estado de confort, nos afecta mucho. Y sobre todo si en el futuro inmediato es perder el empleo. Con lo cual, tres mensajes. Mucha gobernanza, mucho diálogo social entre todos los actores involucrados y una comunicación adecuada y muy amplia para poder ver la necesidad y no escondernos y mirar hacia otro lado.
Thank you very much. And with this, I think that the coffee is knocking at the door. So, Lefteris, Luisa, Eva Maria, Jesus, thank you very much. Big round of applause. Thank you. I think it's 15 minutes, and then the next session starts. Thank you all.